on here.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
Oh, you're doing pretty good. It's only 4:03.
Well, if you're not early, you're late as far as I'm concerned, so. So we're waiting on, I know Seth, I know Bill can't join us, but we're just waiting on Seth to get started. Is that right?
Yes.
Last time I tried to use Zoom, my camera didn't work at all. So you have a picture, but it's not very good. Sorry.
We could, the last time I tried to use Zoom, there was, I could hear no one. So that's always something, which as it turns out, I just had to literally turn my computer off and turn it back on again. And then it worked. So sometimes just that basic.
Yeah, it was weird because last time it was like it could not detect that I had a camera,
Oh,
like I took it out.
yeah. It's always something.
Emily, if you want to start, I can share how we got back to this
Okay.
point.
Yeah, we're good to
That's
go.
okay. Seth is certainly well aware of this piece that I'm going to share. So
right.
I know
Well,
you
sure.
are as well. So help
Yes.
me out with any piece that you want to jump in at.
Okay.
So as the committee knows, we shared with the town kind of where things were at. We frequently collaborate throughout the process. They were generous in giving us 2 extra weeks. So typically this is due by October 1. Last few years, we've taken a little bit longer to submit the CIP to the town. And so I had anticipated that the concern might have been in the out years, the 3, 4, and 5, or the total of the 5 years. What we heard back from Stacy and from Peggy was a concern with year 1. They appreciate what we're up against, specifically with the HVAC and everything going on with Brown School. So they were very understanding, but they were concerned with cash flows in year 1. Specifically where we stand, and we weren't far off, but as the board knows, typically in this account we've been looking at about $1 million per year. So when we're looking at over $5 million, about $5.5 million, that's a pretty significant change to the cash flows and where that would need to come from. And so the basically the request or the indication from the town that would significantly improve their ability to support where we're at was to make a reduction in year one. And, so that's where Bill and I looked at, along with Felicia, in terms of what we could do in year one. Taking anything out of the Daniel Hand project doesn't allow us to move forward with that project. We feel we have a good number in there, but anything lower would increase our chances that the bids are going to come in and they're going to be higher than what we have there, and that $2.9 million plus. So we looked at Brown School and potentially what maybe could be held off on the move. And with the move, we can't hold off on the move, obviously, but what we can hold off on for that first year. And Bill and I, reworking the numbers, identified really our work in the Brown cafeteria. We view that as important because that's one of the first things families see when they come in. It's in definite need of a upgrade. It's got some very old furniture in there. It's got furniture that's not suited right now for the grade levels that will be in that building. But what we thought we could do is we'd still leave some money into the cafeteria portion of that account, but we felt we could take out about $400,000. So the recommendation is to remove $391,609. I know it's pretty specific, but it was reducing the Brown cafeteria work to $375,000. So the plan was to modernize the Brown cafeteria, bring in new cafeteria tables, have the space look better and function better for students. And so what we would do is leave $375,000 in that account and bring the total amount in line BS 002 to $1,030,000. And so that was a number that reduced the full amount. Stacy felt comfortable with that. I think this would make it work. I think it's a good recommendation. We would hold off on some things, potentially move some furniture over from Ryerson and Jeffrey. It's not the newest of furniture, so probably we still got to work this through, but probably what we would do is buy new elementary age furniture for Brown and keep the current stuff for our older students, and eventually replace that. So we'd kind of be pushing this out into another year, and whether that's operating budget or whether that's end of the year funds, I think that's what we have to do. We can't push it out into the CIP because then that just puts us in a difficult spot. But I was going to have Seth speak to kind of what that led us to a discussion with Peggy as a potential option for this to get funded. Seth, okay, put me on the spot like that?
Yeah, hi, and I apologize. I'm zooming in. I couldn't put my earbuds in and get it connected to my computer, so I have to talk low. I hope you can hear me. I'm at a hospital right now with my daughter in surgery, so I hope you can excuse my lateness and my inability to connect to Bluetooth under the circumstances. So what we're really dealing with, even though I share everybody on the facility committee's concern for kicking the can down the road and that sort of thing, but we have strong bipartisan support under the Madison Investment Plan. That was bipartisan, I believe. I think that was a unanimous program, and it called for spacing out CIP and also ensuring that we got a few things that we needed up front last year into this year, and ensuring that we were able to get the school's renewal plan accomplished. But now it calls for reining in spending a little bit on CIP. So the thought from among town leadership on the other boards is that we have to keep CIP a little trimmer, at least initially. They may be looking to add some undesignated fund balance funds into some projects down the road. They may be looking to use some leftover ARPA funds, and they may be able to also repurpose some of the money that we're hoping to get back from the high school roof units project. And so, we've been asked to consider reducing our first year Brown School expenditures to accommodate the roof units at Daniel Hand, and to also accommodate the Madison investment plan and what that does to the CIP. The town has, as Peggy pointed out, and as Stacy has pointed out to Craig and I, that the town has substantially put off its CIP spending, like very substantially. And there's a concern that we could end up, really looking a little bit out of whack in consideration of the $90 million schools renewal project that everybody got behind. And so we really kind of need to try and find a way to contribute back and reduce our spending on Brown School next year. It's not ideal. It's not what I had in mind or wanted, but we can do stuff that doesn't impact education, educational programming, learning, or anything like that in the building. One thing that I asked is if we would be able to submit a letter alongside our CIP proposal that would articulate that, we kind of got stuck this year with the Daniel Hand rooftop units really incurring into what we wanted to do in Brown. And it's an emergency. We really can't put that off any longer because, if those are causing leakage into the building and can cause us to require much bigger repairs. And those rooftop units are on their last legs and are adversely impacting education in a wing of Daniel Hand High School. So we really can't put that off. And so I asked Peggy if it would be appropriate for us to include a letter along with our ultimate CIP proposal that says we got stuck with the rooftop units this year. It's going to be over $1 million, whatever. Here are the projects that we're going to have to not do that we wanted to do, that we were earmarking for this first year of the CIP. And we ask town leadership as funds come in from any quarter, either from refunded from the rooftop units if we're able to get a grant there on that project, whether there's additional investment in the CIP through the undesignated fund balance, or whether they use ARPA funds or any other additional funds that they find, if we can get consideration to get some of that stuff put back into Brown School that we may have to take out up front. Peggy agreed that would be a good idea, that we articulate that in a letter that goes in with our CIP and points out that we kind of, are facing an unfair situation here, and we're trying to live within the means of the Madison investment plan, but we still have other needs that we really intended to complete in the first year of the CIP that we had to forego, and we're asking for dispensation and consideration that they go ahead and refund those as they can.
So I have a quick question. So when you look at line BS 002, it says FFE and move management, and the number that they want to reduce is the 1.421609. So what exactly is included in that specifically?
Yes, so FF&E is furnitures, fixtures, and equipment. And that's our moving cost as well. And so furnitures, fixtures, and equipment, the way that Colliers talks about it with the new building is if you turn the building upside down and shook it, it's everything that would fall out. So we are reusing quite a bit with Brown of things that aren't old. And so we talk about like Promethean boards that are, now 2-3 years old. Those would continue where the new building would have new ones, but I don't see a significant difference in that. Some of the furniture is going to be repurposed, renewed, reused. And so things like that. So that's why that number is much lower than, say, the new school building, because we're using a lot of the current things that are in good shape, very good shape, over again. But there are some things we need to redo. And so in that item is also the media room. So the library is a middle school library. It's an open library, and so it's very loud. And so we fill that wall in, and then also bring in furniture that's appropriate for a pre-K to 5 library.
So in order to get the savings of the $1,030,000, you're saying that it's going to be reusing of furniture for the older grades. And is that in classrooms, or are you talking to
Cafeteria
library?
only. That's cafeteria only. That's pretty expensive furniture, but that's what we would do. And also Brown has a very nice cafeteria. It's a good size, but it hasn't received any kind of work recently to make it look like an elementary cafeteria. It's pretty bland in there.
So if we're using the furniture cafeteria, and we decide to move the pre-K into Brown, is it going to be appropriate cafeteria furniture for them?
So pre-K for us is half days. So they eat snack in the room, but then they go home.
And kindergarten would be all right in it.
Kindergarten be all right, because Jeffrey and Ryerson have some tables that fold out of the wall, that kind of old style, but they do have some tables that are appropriate for and can move, that are are not connected to the building.
And Craig, you had mentioned the layout of the cafeteria is such those sort of 2 unique spaces, right? So it maybe could not look disjointed necessarily with new furniture, old furniture, et cetera.
Correct. And so there is, it is a big cafeteria, and there's a back area, which is probably where we would have the older students be, and that's where the older furniture would also be. And it's working now. It's not like we're having issues with the furniture at Brown now, so it's working now. And so that's and then the front areas where we'd have the younger students be. And we'd most likely, just like the new building, have multiple grade levels at the same time. We wouldn't have 5 different lunch waves. We're going to have, potentially kindergarten and grade 5 in there at the same time.
And the $1,030,000 is just the cafeteria furniture.
No, it's made up of several items. It's media center, band room renovation, upgrade the cafeteria. That's part of it. Other accommodations for the building, and an outdoor classroom is potentially scheduled for that. That would be, if there's money remaining. But that was one of the items that we had shared with the public we were going to try and do there.
And specifically, what are the accommodations that would be not done?
Things that it's a $50,000 item that Bill had included in there, and so it's really just additional funding that he has identified several small things to continue to do to bring the building up to be an elementary school.
And so what is the breakdown then for like media center, band room?
Sure. Yep. Yeah, I have it here, and I'll bring it tomorrow night. So it's $210,000 for the media center and furniture for the media center. There is a lot of work there that needs to be done. As I mentioned, it's an open air, and that's a loud building, because you have noise from that first level reverberate up to the media center. $275,000 for band room renovation. So we have a band room at Brown that's multi-tiered, which is not uncommon for a middle school band room, but not good for a K through 5 band program. And we also have offices off that, which were, I think, performance rooms as well as teacher office space. And so we would work with Tecton to design two learning spaces for that. That's $275,000. The change with the cafeteria finishes and furniture would bring that down to $375,000. The accommodations was $50,000, and then the outdoor classroom was $120,000.
So the plan is that these changes would be essentially a delay with the expectation that they would be remediated or taken care of in the future, second year, third year, or whatever from additional funding.
Correct. Yes.
You know, my particular interest in this, you know, goes to Seth's remarks in terms of a letter. You know, there was the ongoing dynamic of North versus South, the Brown School versus the new school. You know, how we spin this and convey to the general public differences they may see in the Brown School, I expect will see in the Brown School, cafeteria and otherwise, you know, I think needs to be articulated as clearly and simply as possible in terms of, one, the need to find these savings. And I think, you know, against the rooftop units at hand, I think is a good way to do that. And then followed by, you know, this is a temporary but a fiscally responsible effort with the expectation that is, you know, it will be brought up to speed, and within the time frame of a new school in Brown, it will be equitable in, you know, in a matter of years.
My concern with this is that we're reducing it by $1,030,000, but we're not putting those numbers back in. So they're not appearing anywhere in the 5-year plan, because otherwise the entire number would go up, right? You're saying
That-
we're removing it from the first year, but we're just removing it. We're not moving it down.
So the
That was my
reduction
concern.
the reduction is 391,000. The 1.4 changes to 1 million. So the reduction is basically a little bit under 400,000.
Oh, so we're only reducing it 391,609,
Yes,
and that's
yes.
only the cafeteria furniture.
Correct.
Everything else is staying.
Yes,
Okay.
and the
I had
reason
that
we
reversed in my head, and I'm
Okay,
like,
no
are you
problem.
kidding me?
And the reason
Okay.
we wouldn't just put this in year 2, which is normally what you would do, is it just creates more of that issue. And so, as Seth explained, if it comes from another funding source, then it doesn't impact CIP, because there's other items in year 2 that are, you know, very important too.
And so Peggy and whomever else, that's all they want is the 391,609 reduction in year 1.
I believe so at this point, that would do it. You know, there's still a lot of steps to go in the process. So other things could come in. The Board of Finance could look at our request and say, we're doing too much for the schools and not enough for the town, and shift that, certainly. So you know, still a ways to go, but that was the indication that Seth and I received.
Thank you for your questions, Diane. See comments at this point?
Not happy.
Yeah. So talk us through the next steps, Craig, in terms of tomorrow's board meeting.
Sure.
Emily, and
you
it's-
froze a
Emily,
little bit.
you keep freezing on and off, so I'm kind of losing what you're saying.
But I
Sorry,
think
I was
I think I
Just-
got it. So if I miss something, fill it in or ask another question. But tomorrow night, we'd make the committee would make the recommendation to the board. The board would approve CIP hopefully tomorrow night, and we send it to Stacy and Peggy only 17 days late, and then they would work on their budget, their CIP, and then they make a recommendation to the Board of Finance. And then the CIP committee and the Board of Finance work on that. So we usually hear about that typically December, January timeframe. Coinciding with around the time I present my budget. Okay,
So are we supposed to vote on this?
So are we seeking this committee's approval so that we are advancing it to the board, or that isn't necessary?
not necessary, but it's helpful if we know where the committee stands on it at this point. We'll have Bill tomorrow night on Zoom, and Stacy will be there at the committees. I didn't plan on bringing her to the board meeting because I figured I'd know by now where we stand with things.
And if I can just add one last thing before the committee votes, if it is the intention of the committee to vote. Even though I share Diane's, and I'm sure everybody's concern about getting some pushback on our CIP, I think in light of not only the bipartisan MIP plan, Madison Investment Plan, but also in light of the unfortunate town meeting vote in July, I just want to be sure that we are not, coming off like, someone wearing Gucci loafers saying, I only have one pair of shoes. I think it is important that we do what's right and show good faith to the taxpayer. So that's, why, along with a letter to reserve our spot for what we had planned to do with that money, and explaining that it's bad timing with the roof units at Daniel Hand, I think the board is at least showing responsiveness both to the Brown School community and also to the taxpayer as a whole, which includes the Brown School community.
okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Okay. So do I have a motion to bring this to the board tomorrow night for a vote as proposed this evening?
so moved.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Aye.
Reluctantly.
Okay. All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody getting on the meeting with short notice.
No problem.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Everything goes well, Seth.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Seth. Any good thoughts?
Thank you.
Yeah, we're definitely thinking of you, Seth, and your family.
Thank you all. All right. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.